Hi, I'm Jabba, the Real Hiking Viking, Triple Crowner, yada yada, I've done them all, okay? So I'm the expert here, and you're gonna pay attention. All right, let's start with the obvious. Let's start with my backpack. And ironically, this is my backpack. I co-designed this backpack with Mountainsmith, and it's my go-to for all my, 3-season backpacking trips that I go on. This is called the Mountainsmith Zerk 40. It is a UL Fastpack. It does not have a load-bearing hip belt. It's technically removable, and I oftentimes don't use it at all. That's because we have these wider padded shoulder straps that are running vest inspired that have pockets for all your knickknacks that you need throughout the day, your phone, snacks, lip gloss, hand sanitizer. You could even put your GPSs in there. Whatever the heck you want to put right here, you got access to. That's what these pockets are for. And they've got double sternum straps here in case you're not, especially in case you're not using the hip belt. It's got a nice plush, comfortable, breathable back panel there. It also has some little straps that you can attach other gear to. You can run your hose from your bladder through here, down here, so you can be drinking out of a hose if you're a bladder person when it comes to your water. But we got nice big stretch side pockets for multiple bottles, and on the outsides of those pockets we have these extra pockets here, mesh pockets that are stretchy and you can cinch them down and all that kind of stuff, where I keep extra snacks, trash, all kinds of stuff in there. Compressible straps right here that also can be moved throughout to fine-tune, customize how you want to have your compression straps. It is also a roll top. It also has a mesh pocket on the side here and on the side here, so you can have more access to things on the outside of your pack. Giant mesh pocket here. It also has a daisy chain compression cord right there. You also have your ability to attach trekking poles and ice axes right here with these loops and these loops. And then of course we have a zippered pocket right here where you can put other stuff that you want to keep secured throughout your day, but not on the inside. And then of course on top you can put your bear can or whatever you want here with a Y webbing clip at the top. So this pack weighs 2 pounds, 2 ounces before stripping any of these extra straps off of it, which you can get it down to about 1 pound, 14 ounces. It's 40 liters with this rolled down. You can get another 4 liters out of it if you extend that. I personally co-designed this to be the perfect backpack for me and my uses. So it's pretty much perfect as is. It's got a lot of bells and whistles on it. I'd like to call it a feature-rich backpack. It has done countless trails and miles with me ever since this came out, and we designed it in 2019 and hit the market in 2020, and I've done thousands of miles of this pack ever since. And depending on the hikes that I go on, I either work with it exactly as is, or if I'm going to go super UL, I start shaving some of these straps off and trying to penny pinch and be a little bit of a gram weaning with some of that stuff. But this is the Mountainsmith Zerk 40 Fastpack, designed by yours truly. I love it, and I got a lot more hikes planned with it moving forward. All right, let's move on to sleep system. All right, sleep systems. I have had enough nights of horrendous sleep in my life. I have tried skimping on my sleep systems for too many adventures, and my neck and my back can no longer take it. I have decided to up my game these days with a full, this stuff weighs more than what a lot of people, I would say, typically use when they're getting into pinching their, grams and just trying to skimp on weight. This is not the place to come to learn how to save weight on your sleep system. I have a 23-degree bag from Montbell. It's called the Down Hugger. It has a spiral baffling system, and I'll try and see if I can show you what that means. Right here, you can see that little diagram. This is an old trick that if you spiral the baffles, that it can create a stretch-like function while you're inside the sleeping bag, so you feel like you have more room. So you can roll inside your sleeping bag a lot more easily, so you feel like you got more room in the shoulders, more room in the hips. And me being a bigger guy, wider guy, that is very helpful for me. So if you're a bigger guy, wider guy, wider person in general, a spiral down hugger from Montbell might be the bag for you. I think the tech specs on this are, like I said, the comfort limit is 23 degrees. The lower limit is 11 degrees. And I believe it weighs 2 pounds, 4 ounces. All right. And this is a full mummy bag. So I got a hood. I got like a draft collar in here. They all can be cinched up. And then the zip goes all the way down. So you have a foot box still. And frankly, it's so warm. I actually use this oftentimes just as a quilt. So I'll throw my feet in it with it fully unzipped and just drape it over me like a blanket. And only on the coldest nights do I zip it all the way up. And even then, it keeps me pretty warm. And that's because I use a really comfortable insulated sleep pad. It's called the Sea to Summit Etherlite XT Insulated Rectangular. A lot of people are like using a short pad or a narrower pad or a shaped pad. I was done with all that. I was ready to go. Like, I just want to sleep and be able to roll around and, be able to shoulder sleep, be able to stomach sleep, be able to sleep on my back. This rectangular pad from Sea to Summit is the most comfortable pad that I have ever used in my life. So this has an R value of 3.2, which is just fine. Like you can get away with that. 3-season camping, maybe even a little bit of winter camping with that. But it also has a weight of just over a pound. I think at around 17 ounces. So not your lightest pad and not even your smallest pad too. Like this takes up some space, but that's also because in the bottom of this, you actually have the built-in, you can blow into the end and it will inflate your pad for you. And I was pretty skeptical of using this feature, or I should say, I would have been skeptical of using this feature earlier in my hiking career. But I've had too many pads that I've just blown up with my mouth that ultimately, within a couple of years of using them, riddled with just like mold from the inside because your hot breath has moisture in it and it just traps inside those air pads, and then before you know it, you've got a moldy pad, and that's not good. Nobody wants that. It smells bad. It looks weird. Maybe it's like rubbing off on your gear and like spreading, who knows? But mold's not a good thing to have on your gear. And you can't clean the inside of your pad. Once you get mold on the inside of that, that's there forever basically. So I've started using this and it's been helpful. It saves you the problem of having to like waste your breath when you're tired or at altitude or whatever. So the Sea to Summit Etherlite XT Insulated rectangular shape. Full pad, baby, full pad. And sticking with comfort, the days of using my food bag or like my clothing bag, using those as my pillow, those days are long gone. Too many nights did I wake up with a crick in my neck. And this pillow from Sea to Summit, called the Sea to Summit Ultralight Large, this solves all my problems. Since using this pad, I have never had my neck go out on me in the middle of the night. I've always had a great night's sleep with this entire system. So this weighs 2 ounces. There's no insulation in it, but you don't need it because it's not going to be on the ground getting cold too much. You're going to have it typically on top of your sleep pad. But it's very simple to use. You just blow it up right here. And if you want it to go flat, you just open it up, flatten it out, roll it up. And I keep this also in with my air pad. I keep it all together in one happy spot. So it's, I don't lose it in my pack. It stays nice and clean. And this has been my go-to sleep setup, I think for 3 seasons now. This whole thing. I've used it on any hike, every hike. That's it. So I would recommend this whole system to anyone who's getting a bad night's sleep, who's waking up with a lot of discomfort, who's sleeping cold typically. But I want to remind you, this is not a setup that I would recommend for people who are trying to, lower their base weight. This is not a base weight like sleep setup for somebody who's going sub 10 pounds, I would say. It's probably not for you. All right, now moving on to shelters, okay? So this is one that you can't find just yet as of today. This is a brand new product that I've been developing with Mountainsmith. This is called the Mountain Shelter Neo 2 2-person UL tent, and you can use it for backpacking or bike packing. It comes with this nice little compressible sack specifically for bike packing, but you can also use this for backpacking or put it into a different sack if you want to drop the weight of the packed weight. And I think the current weight is 2 pounds 13 ounces with stakes, and it uses your trekking poles. You can get them with carbon fiber poles specifically for bike packing, so I have to check the weight on that with the carbon poles, but I use my trekking poles with this shelter. What do I look for in a tent? Well, first of all, is it durable? Is it easy to set up? Can I get it taut? Does it hold up in high wind? Do I enjoy sleeping in it? These are all things that I look for in a tent. And frankly, all those things came to mind when I was designing this particular tent. So those are pretty much non-negotiable things for me in terms of what I'm looking for in a tent. I would say this tent is for anyone who's looking to do long distance backpacking. That's really kind of what I thought of when I was working on, wanting to design this tent and carrying a tent that's for all the adventures that I need it for. And that's anything from off-trail orienteering to long-distance thru hikes to bike packing, multi-day long-distance adventuring. That's what this shelter is for. And of course, you can't have a trekking pole shelter without trekking poles. So these specific ones are my own personal from Mountainsmith. These are the Andesite trekking poles, and you'll find them with my ugly mug tattooed on them. But these are carbon fiber 3-segment poles, and they can get nice and long, and they come, like I said, come in 3 segments. And then they get nice and short for stowing away or traveling via airplane or whatever. But carbon fiber is my go-to, and I love the plush faux cork handle of these. And some people don't use the straps on their trekking poles. I tend to use them religiously at this point because they can give you extra control and can reduce the need for you to really grip your trekking poles while you're using them. Super plush strap as well, very comfortable on the hands. So the Mountainsmith Andesite carbon fiber 3-segment trekking pole. Nice. All right, let's talk about clothing. Let's talk about everything I bring with me, and it's all right here. Now, I should preface this by saying I run hot. I run hot during the day. I run hot at night. So what I need to be warm and dry, and being dry is not very frequent for me because I sweat like crazy, but what I need to be warm and dry is maybe going to be different from what you need to be warm and dry. But when it comes to long distance backpacking, this is my go-to kit right here, like straight up. And I'm wearing what I thru hike in on my top and bottoms. So one thing you don't see here is like traditional underwear. I wear shorts that have a liner built into them. That's to help prevent chafing, and it's just more comfortable for me personally. All right. And it's not super compressed. They're not compression liners. It's more like boxer brief type liners. The more things you have compressed, the hotter you'll get, the more you'll sweat, the more chafing you'll get, and the less comfortable you'll end up being. I hike in trail runners, and one pair of socks I'm wearing, and I carry another pair with me, and I cycle my 2 pairs of socks throughout, my resupply stretch. If I can, I rinse one while I'm wearing the other clean ones, and I leave them on my pack to dry. I do typically carry liner gloves. These are merino wool liner gloves because you never know when you're going to get caught in a cold rain, like freezing rain, sleet, especially in the high country. But it can also be really cold down in the desert too, even in the dead of summer. So you never know when you're going to need that. I also hike in compression calf sleeves because I get tendinitis in my anterior tib, and that helps keep that from getting really bad. But also it helps kind of protect your leg from scratchy things. It also protects your legs from coldness, all kinds of things. And so at this point in my career, I'm using compression sleeves on my calves. I carry 1 pair of synthetic base bottoms right there. Those are actually nice and kind of stretchy, and they're comfortable. They're comfortable because I sleep in them most every night. Because what I wear when I hike, I typically take off and I don't wear it into my sleeping bag because that stuff's all dirty and gross. My legs are all dirty and gross. So I put on a sleep outfit, which consists of these base bottoms, and then I wear an Alpha fleece hoodie, which is very comfortable, has a hood on it, and keeps my head warm at night, keeps me feeling cozy in my sleeping bag. But between those two, it helps protect my sleeping bag from getting extra dirty, because the dirtier your sleeping bag gets, the crappier it's going to be at insulating you. I also carry, on the really cold days and the really wet days, a pair of rain pants that are ultralight, and a rain jacket that's also ultralight. Has a couple pockets there. Both are really compressible, and both do a great job of keeping you warm. If you have to throw everything on the coldest day, you can wear all of this and be, warm in an emergency situation, especially when you couple it with a down hooded jacket. And this is a down Anorak from Montbell. It's quarter zip, has a kangaroo pocket for your hands. All this stuff is super functional and can be layered in a number of ways to keep you warm and dry and keep you happy on trail while being extra lightweight. All this stuff is very, very lightweight and can pack very easily. All right, while we're on the subject of things I wear, why don't we talk about footwear, all right? I typically hike in a trail runner these days. Been wearing Altra for a very, very long time. They've been very good to me, and I don't really get blisters when I wear Altra anymore. So this is the Ultra Olympus. They are their maximal stack shoe. When I say maximal stack, I'm referring to the midsole right here. They have a Vibram Mega Grip sole, and honestly, they're just really comfortable. Now, the problem with a shoe like the maximal stack on these Olympus is the higher up your foot is from the ground, the more easily it can roll because it gets a little top heavy. So you got to be mindful of that. You can use a shoe called the Ultra Timps or the Ultra Lone Peaks. Timps are a little bit shorter of a stack, and then the Lone Peaks are a little shorter of a stack as well. And you can go all the way down to the Superior, which is like a minimal stack. I prefer more cushion than not. It helps kind of give the shoe a little bit more life in the long run as well. You can also find other brands that have maximal stacks as well. Like Hoka One makes like the Stinsons or the Speed Goats, stuff like that. They're all, comparable shoes. But these are what have worked for me, and it's what I primarily thru hike in these days. But other types of footwear, sometimes, depending on the hike, sometimes I will hike in a Bedrock if I'm like out in the desert or something like that, and I'm going in and out of water a bunch. I will bring these as a camp shoe or a hiking shoe, or sometimes I even bring Crocs. It just kind of depends on what I'm feeling, how heavy I want to go. But sometimes people do hike in Bedrocks as well. All right, next, let's get to our food kit. Let's reach into our food bag and see what we got here. We got our pot, we got our utensil, and we've got our stove. Let's get these things out. We'll show you how to set it up and all that. All right, I am using the SOTO WindMaster Pro. All right, and I have been using this thing probably for like a decade at this point, and it has never failed me, ever. It's got a great BTU, and it's called the WindMaster Pro because it works well in the wind without using a windscreen. And it has an igniter on this that after all these years still works, which is remarkable. And then my pot, it's actually a bottle pot called the Bot from Vargo Titanium. A lot of you don't know this, maybe you do, but the reason I get into backpacking was I was working for Vargo Titanium when I got out of the Marine Corps, and it's what I found the Appalachian Trail by way of working at Vargo Titanium. So I get free stuff from Vargo for life, basically. Hallelujah, because titanium is not cheap. But this is a 1 liter pot, bottle pot. It has threading around the lid here so that if you run into a jam when it comes to water, you can use this as a water vessel because it has a heat-resistant silicone ring that keeps it watertight. But when you're cooking, you just unscrew it, and then the pot lid flips over and rests on top like a resting pot lid for when you're cooking. So when you steep something or boil something, you got a lid that also functions like a normal pot lid. All right. Also, the fact that it does seal up. If you're done eating, but you still got food left, you can carry food with you for the next day if you don't want to eat it in the morning or after dinner or whatever. Or you got a clean pot when you're in town, you can put food in there and pack it out, whether it's a sandwich or like, I don't know, you find yourself at like a restaurant and you don't want to pack out the box, you can put the food in there. All right. So it's a very versatile piece of gear. And I've got myself a long handled titanium spoon, also Vargo. I always carry a handkerchief with me because I keep my canister of fuel inside the pot. This specific canister, the small isopropyl butane, fits down in this size pot. Vargo also makes a larger pot that's like wider for the larger medium-sized canister. Will also fit in those. But if you're not using a handkerchief inside your pot and you're just putting your fuel back in, this like aluminum or whatever this is, I'm not even sure what it's made out of. All I know is when this compressed gas is being used, it creates condensation on the outside of these cans. And then when it mixes with titanium, another metal, it gets super rusty around the rim. And that rust transpires into the titanium. And you can essentially ruin the bottom of your pot with rust. Otherwise, I never have any issues with titanium rusting whatsoever. It's when you don't have something to protect that metal from rusting into the bottom. So and then I get to use it as a napkin or a pot holder or whatever. I mean, you can use this for a tourniquet for, injuries and all that kind of thing. And this is having a handkerchief can be very versatile for a number of uses. So you can justify its extra weight or whatever. So what I do, as you know, you just screw this sucker on, brand new can. There we go. You like to hear that sound? Look at that. Bada bing, bada boom. She works every time. That igniter for a decade has given me no problems. But one thing you got to do make sure is whatever stove you do get to using, you just got to make sure it's wide enough to fit your pot. You get one of those much wider pots and you don't have the right size little like tripod situation here, it can fall off very easily and you can create some issues with burning yourself if you're not careful. But that's my cook kit right there in a nutshell. So within my kitchen, we got my food bag right here. It's just your run-of-the-mill, DCF food bag. This one happens to be made by Hyperlite. I always carry at least 1 or 2 Ziploc bags. This typically is used as my garbage bag and I reuse it. So I try not to get too much, gunky juice in there from tuna. I try and put my used tuna packets in other trash to prevent it from spilling. And you can get really efficient with how you pack your trash. That's for sure. But after a 4 or 5 day haul, it's not impossible. This thing is completely filled to like pillow size of trash. Sometimes I'll also carry an extra sack for like snacks if I want to keep snacks in their own sack, just to kind of like compartmentalize from having just one big food sack. And maybe I pull out my day's worth of snacks and put them in a smaller lightweight stuff sack. That's really it. I don't utilize a sack. I don't utilize a bear can unless it's legally like necessary. I will carry a bear can with me. That's just like in various national parks, I guess in some parts on the AT as well as the PCT. And if you don't want to do the Rocky Mountain National Park and the CDT, you don't have to. But there are few and far between places where you have to use a bear can. Using an sack, I will just say that if you're hiking in a place that has lots of rodents, mice, whatever, an sack can be very beneficial. I personally, knock on wood, have not had any issues with mice ever burrowing through my tent, burrowing through my bags, anything like that. So we've already gone through like all the major stuff, my big 3, my cook kit, my clothing, and then this is basically the rest of it. My setup's not, I wouldn't call it the most ultralight, but it's very minimal. Here I have the rest of my electronics, charger, cables, headlight, battery pack, stuff sack for it, and then over here I have like hygiene, medical, and then like any pills of I keep Imodium, I keep Tylenol PM, I keep ibuprofen, maybe some vitamins, but that's basically it. right there. That's the rest of my kit. And if you want me to go deep dive into every single thing and do like a much more detailed video of all my stuff, and even like maybe with my food included, leave a comment and maybe we'll do that in a future video. So thanks so much for watching. I'm happy to share all my gear with you, how I pack it, what my pack is, and we got some other videos for you in the future. And if you have any requests, leave them in the comments. All right, well, thanks for joining. I'm Java, the Real Hiking Viking. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.